Welcome to Winning at Wealth, where we throw the Wall Street jargon in the garbage, promote a healthy money mindset, and equip you with the tools necessary for you to win at wealth. I'm your host, John Burdett, and I'm so excited you've decided to spend this time with me. Now let's get to it.
The following program is sponsored by Fourth Avenue Financial, which is solely responsible for its content. Securities offered through J.W. Cole Financial Member, FINRA, SIPC. Investment advice offered through J.W. Cole Advisors. Fourth Avenue Financial, J.W. Cole Financial, and J.W. Cole Advisors are unaffiliated entities. The opinions expressed by John K. Burdett II should not be construed as specific investment, legal, or tax advice. All economic and performance information is historical and not indicative of future results. Investing may involve the risk of loss of principal. Any tax advice on this show is not intended to be used by any person for the purpose of avoiding U.S. federal or state tax penalties that may be imposed on such person, and each listener should seek advice from their tax advisor or legal counsel on topics that arise from the show. John K. Burdett II is not providing legal or tax advice. Nothing should be construed as a solicitation of an offer to buy securities.
Welcome to Winning at Wealth. With so many different types of investments at our disposal, how do we know what to pick? It can be very difficult to make an informed decision with so many choices and so many opinions and advertisements trying to influence us. In today's episode, I'm going to describe a way to think about investments that might take some of the confusion and fear out from those decisions. We're not going to talk about specific investments today, but rather broad categories of investments and the appropriate time to use them in your financial planning. I'd like to describe investments as tools in a toolbox. You probably have a toolbox in your garage, and it contains various tools. You might find a hammer or a saw and many other tools that make your tasks easier to complete. And if you were going to hang a picture on the wall, you're sure to grab the hammer to pound the nail. If you've picked up the saw, it wouldn't be very much good in hanging the picture. This does not mean the saw is a bad tool. It just means it's the wrong tool for the job. Understanding the job in front of you is essential to picking the right tool. More complex jobs, like building a house, require an entire array of tools to finish the construction. Financial planning is very much like building a house. There are many jobs that need completed in building your financial plan. Your life is full of competing goals, some short, some long-term. It wouldn't make much sense to use one investment tool to complete your financial plan. Just as you cannot expect to build an entire house with only a hammer, you cannot ask one investment tool to meet all of your planning needs. Before you begin selecting investments, it's essential to understand what your goals are first. When building a house, you do this with a blueprint. A financial plan is the blueprint you should have to coordinate all the jobs that lead to your goals. There are no perfect investments. All investment types have both positive and negative attributes. For instance, cash is very liquid, and the principal is secure, but over long periods of time, its value declines through inflation. The stock market over time tends to keep up with inflation, but its value fluctuates in the short term. Once you understand the positive and negative attributes to broad investment categories, you'll be able to make decisions about your investment allocation with much more confidence. I want to talk through some examples of how this might work in your financial plan. Let's say you're 10 years away from retirement and you have a daughter getting married next year with a big wedding expense to pay for. As you're thinking about planning for this wedding that you know will come 1 year from now, you don't want to use a long-term investment for that goal. You want to know that your money will be there when it's time to pay for the wedding. This means putting this money in volatile investments like the stock market would not be the appropriate investment tool to use. With a goal like this, it would be more appropriate to use a short-term investment tool like a CD, short-term bonds, or even a savings account to ensure the money will be there when the wedding expenses come. It's okay that the investment return on this money is less than the potential of the stock market, because the short-term risk of the stock market might put the wedding party at risk. You don't want that. You want the music and the wine to be going all night long. For the second goal of retirement planning, you certainly will want to use a different investment tool. As a financial advisor, I've seen too many people come through my door that have had their 401k money invested in stable or fixed income accounts for decades. This is just one step from burying your money in the backyard. I call this lazy money because it's not being put to work for you. This is often done because of being fearful of market volatility. It's true that the stock market moves both up and down in the short term, but it's also true that over time, ownership of companies has provided much better returns to investors. And in this case, with a 10-year time horizon, you would have plenty of time to ride out the inevitable volatility of the market to take advantage of higher potential returns. Even a retired investor has multiple needs from their retirement money. They have the short-term need of income to live comfortably, but also the long-term need for growth to keep up with rising prices throughout retirement. I'm sure you've heard people say that you should become more conservative as you approach retirement. This doesn't mean that you should abandon all market risk and use only stable short-term investment tools. The very thing you're doing to stay safe actually exposes you fully to other risks like inflation. Again, there's no perfect investment. You have to mix the investment tools together to build your investment portfolio to match your financial planning job. So let's break down some of these investment tools. We have equities. These include stocks, stock mutual funds, ETFs, etc. Their positives potentially include higher rates of return, rising dividend income, and keeping up with inflation. The negative is volatility in price, unpredictability of the cash flows and earnings of the businesses. With bonds, these can be both government or corporate bonds, bought individually in mutual funds or even ETFs. The positive aspect of a bond ownership is a predictable cash flow from interest payments, gaining access to your initial investment or liquidity at a predetermined date. The downside is once you purchase a bond, your rate is usually set for the duration. If rates change, you're locked in at the rate you originally purchased. A bond has an upside that is known and easy to calculate, but its return is capped compared to equity investments. Real estate can take various forms, from housing to commercial investments. Real estate can provide a great income stream from rents, and with appreciation over time may grow your original investment. Real estate has little liquidity and high transaction costs that make it a poor choice, though, for short-term needs. Cash is the most liquid type of investment. Cash offers little to no return. This means that over time, its value will erode due to the effects of inflation. Cash is acceptable for an emergency fund or meeting your monthly living needs, but really little else. There are many other investment tools that run the spectrum of risk, reward, and time horizon. I would advise you to discuss your goals with a financial advisor to get a complete look at the choices that you have to consider. It's easy to see from this very broad and brief overview of our investment tools that they can each have different pluses and minuses. Your goal should largely determine the allocation of your investments. It also becomes apparent that when we think about our investments in this manner, that the idea of risk is not a fixed quantity. For instance, if you define risk solely as the loss of principal, you may decide to use your cash or a short-term CD as your investment. By defining risk this way, you're actually adding to the long-term risk of losing purchasing power to inflation. This is especially true if your planning goal is a long time away. Basically, in protecting yourself against the risk you fear the most, you've exposed yourself fully to the risk that's hidden to you. Again, there are no perfect one-size-fits-all investments. If you're using the stock market as your investment tool for a long-term goal, then it's easy to realize that volatility is a feature of the market and not a flaw. When planning for a long-term goal such as retirement, in the times the market direction is down, you're able to accumulate more shares and ownership of the companies you're buying. If you've planned for your short-term need with the appropriate investment tools, then the volatility of the market does not change your lifestyle at all. You can focus on the long-term potential of the market that type of investment brings without worrying about the short-term volatility. As a long-term investor, your focus should not be on the volatility of the market, but rather on the actions that you control and need to take to be successful. You totally control the dollars flowing into your investments. You totally control how you've allocated your investments to align with your goals. You don't need to do more than this, and with a dose of patience, you can be successful. Remember, as we've discussed on previous episodes, wealth is created in the service of others. Go practice your vocation and serve to the best of your ability. Learn new skills and serve at a higher level. Use your long-term investment dollars to accumulate ownership of companies that are doing the exact same thing. If you focus on these things that are entirely within your control, you'll definitely be on the path to winning at wealth. Don't worry about the news, elections, commentators, economists, or daily clickbait doom. Keep your head down and keep yourself and your long-term investments focused on serving others by providing quality goods and services, meeting needs, and solving problems. Not only will you win at wealth, but those you interact with will come out better too. And what could be better than that? Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Winning at Wealth. It's been exciting to see the growth of the podcast over the first few weeks. Be sure to subscribe to automatically receive new weekly episodes. And if you could take a minute to write a review or share with your friend, I'd greatly appreciate it. If you have a topic you'd like me to cover in an upcoming episode, please drop me a line. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Winning at Wealth podcast today. I'm John Burdett, your host, and I'd like to introduce you to the Winning at Wealth system. You can join the many others that have made the decision to take control of their financial life. You'll find resources and the support you need to write your own Winning at Wealth story. The Winning at Wealth system includes resources to answer questions on budgeting, debt management, savings, investments, insurance, real estate, and much more. You'll discover how money really works so you can have the proper perspective to make great financial decisions. The Winning at Wealth system also includes access to a private community and a monthly group Zoom with me. Take your Winning at Wealth step today for only $297 for the system and 3-month access to the private community. Join at winningatwealth.com. Meanwhile, you can find me at Winning at Wealth Podcast on Instagram, and I'll be back to chat here next week.
The preceding program is sponsored by 4th Avenue Financial, which is solely responsible for its content.